Keys of Success, part of the Strategic Thinking module with Kiwanis Amplifies Leadership Series. My name is Craig Crawford. I'm a 20-year public educator and have been an administrator for the past 15 plus years. And I also recently started my own consulting business, focusedconsulting.biz, B-I-Z. If I can help you or your company moving forward with anything, please feel free to contact me. We'll be hopefully tying in some of the other segments you've had in the strategic thinking module. I'm sure you maybe had references to the 5 Ps as you've gone through there. But I want to thank you all for being here today, and let's get started and work through the 5 Ps of success. The most commonly known 5 Ps are prior planning prevents poor performance. I can remember as a high schooler that these were up on my guidance counselor's wall. I would see them on a daily basis and really not pay much attention to them. But I can tell you the older I get, the more they have a bearing on me. People will tell you that I am quite the list maker, and that is some prior planning preventing poor performance. You know, the times I go to the grocery store and don't have a list, I'm coming back with donuts and beef jerky and all sorts of things that may not have been on that list. So that prior planning can make a big difference for me. Now we're going to look at some other 5 Ps of success as we go through. So let's take a peek at a couple other examples. Okay, other examples are the sales 5 Ps of success, and those are people, product, place, price, and promotion. And if you think about anywhere that you've seen a sale, whether it's at a car lot or in a grocery store, you can think about these 5 things coming into place. In fact, the next time you go to the grocery store, consider this. Place. What are the 2 most common purchase things in a grocery store? They are milk and bread. And in most grocery stores, you will find milk and bread in opposite back corners of the store. It's deliberately done because they want to make sure if you're coming in to buy those 2 things that you have to pass pretty much every other thing in the store in order to get those things. It's done deliberately and drives sales higher. So that is part of sales 5 Ps. Another example are the leadership 5 Ps. And for anyone who's a leader, these are important. And if you think about leaders that you've had, you can probably think about which of these 5 Ps they excelled at, or maybe all 5. And that's what made them an incredible leader. Are they persistent? Is their message the same every day? Are they always about the same things? Can you count on that? Are they positive? Everybody wants a positive leader. Even in the darkest of times, a leader can find a way for people to have a positive thought about moving forward. Persuasive. Certainly every leader has to be persuasive in helping their company go forward, or if you're selling a product, you're persuading the customer that yours is the product or service that they need in their life. Passion. You must be passionate. You have to believe in what you're doing, and you have to believe in your product, and people have to feel that in you. I often tell this to teachers that you're selling your subject matter. It's easy to teach science to the kid that loves science. But when you can teach science to the kid that doesn't like science because he believes in you and your passion, that's teaching. That's being a great leader in the classroom. Propelling. And this is one that sometimes will make people pause and say, what do you mean by that? In leadership, if you're working with other people, you want to propel them forward as far as they can go. What are their hopes and dreams and goals? What do they want to do and become professionally? If you're helping your people grow, it's helping your company grow. And a lot of people will be hesitant and say, I don't want to teach these people or develop these people and have them leave my company. If that's the case, then they're doing so much for your company while they're there, and you've been propelling and promoting others from within, that you will see good things happening for your company. It's important in leadership to take care of those who work with you. Now we're going to talk a little bit about Henry Mintzberg and his 5 Ps of strategy. As this is the strategic thinking module, those are the 5 Ps we should focus on. Mintzberg is recognized as an international leader on strategy and management. And at the end of this module, there's a supplemental resource for you that has a link to a page that has a lot of his articles and books available for you to look at and see if any of them are of interest to you. He developed the 5 Ps for strategy that we're going to focus on here in a little bit and has authored over 150 books and articles. So Mintzberg certainly has done plenty to bring the 5 Ps of strategy to light. So what are Mintzberg's 5 Ps of strategy? They are plan, ploy, pattern, position, and perspective. And you can already start thinking about if there's a strategy you want to implement, where do these 5 Ps really fit in with that? Now we're going to take some time and look at each one of these individually. The first of Mintzberg's 5 Ps we want to look at is planning. It is something that people can do naturally, but it's not enough just on its own. I can put together a plan for how I want to go to the moon, and I need a rocket and I need a spacesuit, and then I'm going to go to the moon. A little bit more than that. You may remember at some point in your school, maybe they said, write down the plan for how you would make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And just in that plan, you can see that things get left out. If somebody says, well, you put peanut butter on one piece of bread and you put jelly on the other piece of bread and you put the two together. How do you get the peanut butter? How do you get the bread? How do you get it onto the bread? What are the parts of that? So there's a lot of planning has to go into even making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, a personal favorite of mine. So within planning, we have SMART goal setting. Is something specific? Is it measurable? Is it attainable? Is it realistic? And is there a time component to it? You have to hold yourself accountable to getting these things done on time. And part of that accountability can be from letting others know what your SMART goals are. That's critical in achieving goals, because you never know who might be able to help you finish that goal off and achieve it successfully if they don't know what it is. Also, doing SWOT analysis. What are the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats of this strategy I have in mind? There's a lot of things that when you go in to do something that can be positives for you or your business, or they could be a negative. And taking the time to think that through is an important part of planning. Brainstorming, also really important. What are the greatest ideas of people around you? Bring in people that you don't know, outsiders, and say, here's a strategy we're thinking about, and just hear what they have to say. Some of my favorite days in my classrooms were when I went in saying, this is the lesson I'm going to do for these kids today, and this is the way it's going to go. And about 2 minutes in, one of the kids said, and here's the rabbit hole we're going to run down today. And I had to just put down my lesson plans and say, that's a great idea. And that's where we're going to go today, because your brainstorming is better than what I had in mind. It's important to be open to other people's viewpoints on how your strategy can be successful. But one key piece then when you go into planning is change management. Everyone loves to have their cheese moved. Everyone loves to have to come in and do something different from what they've been doing for a long time. Everybody loves to come out of their comfort zone. Nope, not so much. How will you manage that change? Will you implement something slowly over time? Will it be blunt force trauma and you do a 180 one day to the next about what you're going to do simply because the situation mandates that? This is something that must be an important part of the planning process for you, even if it's on an individual basis. Hey, I want to change career fields. I want to go do something different. Well, what will be the change impacts on you because of that? Will you have to move? Will you have to leave loved ones? Will your significant other have to give up their position that they have? Will your kids have to go to different schools? You have to consider all the possibilities that are going to come as a result of this change that your strategy will bring about. The next one of Mintzberg's 5 Ps we're going to talk about is ploy. How will you disrupt or defeat your competitors? Sounds a little snarky, but it's the reality. If you are competing against somebody, you're there to win. You're there to make sure that your company and your product and your service is what people go after and have first and foremost. And so how will you do that? Will you use targeted marketing? Study the demographics of who you want to really appeal to, and that's where your money gets spent. If you're developing something that you think is going to be a great product for teenagers, you're not going to spend a whole lot of money on the 50 to 90 crowd unless it's close to Christmas time maybe and you think they want to buy presents for their grandkids. And so that's where you want to spend some money saying, hey, this is what teenagers are going to want. Grandma, grandpa, go get this for them. But your marketing should be targeted because that way you're maximizing your dollars. And impact analysis is really important as you go through thinking about your strategy. If you have a factory that produces 1,000 widgets a month and you're going to run a promotion that's going to make you be able to sell 2,000 widgets a month, are you ready for it? How will you ramp up production? Will you beef up a supply before you do that? How will this impact your company? Will it make people have to work extra hours? Will you need to hire on more people? There's a lot of things to consider as you implement a strategy. And a futures wheel is a great way to look at this. You put down what is the change you're going to implement, and then what are the potential positive incomes or planned outcomes, and what are the unplanned potential outcomes from this? And looking at, is this really something we want to do because of this is an outcome I hadn't really considered? And that's more brainstorming coming in, more planning. For some ploys, it's a loss leader. If you go into a grocery store and you look at the ends of the aisles, a lot of times you'll see, 2 bags of chips for $4 on special right now. And the companies have agreed to take a loss on that sale, that's something that they're using to bring you into the store because you got the flyer in your mailbox and you saw 2 bags of chips for $4. How can I not do that? Well, while you're in there getting those 2 bags of chips for $4, you realize you need some onion dip for those chips, and you realize you want to have some Coke to wash down those chips. And so suddenly you're making additional purchases that loss leader brought you into the building to do. The next of Mintzberg's 5 Ps are pattern. What is it that your organization or a person has done in the past to be successful? You know, the old adage of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If your company is great at doing something, maybe that's where your strategy is to go. If you think about the McDonald's Corporation, they don't sell the McRib every day, but they know when the McRib comes out, here's the demand we're going to have for it, here's the supply we need to have, and people will go gaga over our McRib, so let's make sure we're ready to go with it. So part of looking at what your pattern is within yourself or your company is, what are your core competencies? What are you really good at as a company? And making sure that that's the piece that you focus on and drive with your strengths. Make sure that that's what you do. SWOT analysis, again, comes into play. What are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats from this thing you're going to do? And can your company handle or not handle what it is you're thinking of doing? Again, if you produce 1,000 widgets in a month and you're going to run a promotion that's going to make demand go to 10,000 a month, there's a whole lot of things you've got to consider. All of us can think of a time maybe where we've gone to a company that was understaffed or made a claim of something they wanted to do. And if you have a negative experience, the statistics will say that somebody who has a negative experience with a company will share that negative experience with at least 8 people. And then if someone has a positive experience, they will share maybe 1 to 2 people if you're lucky. And so the negatives get talked about more than the positives. So you really want to think about something before you hop into it. And that comes down to data analysis, looking at what you've done in the past. What is the time of year for you to run this promotion? When is your company really ready and agile? Or for yourself, what are the things you've done in the past that have been successful for you? And is this the right time for you to make the move that you're considering? Moving along with Mintzberg's 5 Ps, position. Where do you fit in the marketplace? Are you a small company? Are you a medium company? Are you a large company? Are you able to compete with the big boys, as they like to say? But what is your niche? What is it that is about you or your company that makes you stand out from others? Why would somebody choose your company versus someone else when they're making a decision about where to spend their money? Another analysis for you, pest analysis. What are the political, economical, social, and technological components of what it is you're strategizing to do? Thinking about, is my product or my service that I'm talking about offering, is this going to offend someone in my constituency that's going to impact my business long term? Do I have the technology in place to handle what's going to happen? Are the economics sound? Are we going to sell something at a loss, but we can't handle that loss? So we need to, even if it's making a penny of profit, we have to be able to turn some sort of profit off of this. Working through all those is really important. Knowing what makes your company stand out. Why are you so special? And you are, but why? And it's okay to have that deliberate discussion about, here's why we're great. This is what we do well. Because it not only allows you to play to your strengths, but also identifies for you areas that you can improve. So it's okay to have those discussions about the things that you do really well or that your company does really well. Also in Mintzberg's 5 Ps is perspective. What are your core beliefs? What are the beliefs of your company? As you look at a strategy you want to implement, maybe you could implement that strategy, but should you implement that strategy? Does it fit who you are as a person or as a company? Does it align with your morals or your personal beliefs as far as where you're going to go? And with that can be a congruence model that you go through, a process as part of this planning of, do the components of your company support what it is you want to do as a goal? Or do you have those strengths? Is there a part of you that makes that a really good decision for you to do? It's a difficult thing sometimes to do on a personal level or on a professional level, but it is important to just look at, yes, we have the capacity to do this, and having that honest conversation. So let's talk about utilizing the 5 Ps. An important thing to know is they're not linear. You don't have to do all 5 of these in order. You really should do them all at the same time, or maybe you focus more on one than the other. They're simply a means of checks and balances to make sure as you look at the strategy you want to implement, will it be successful? Do you have the things in place to do there? You get to test ideas, whether it's talking with peers or people that aren't peers, just outsiders or consultants that you bring in that can look at something you want to do and make you consider things that maybe you haven't. I mean, we all have been in a household maybe where there was a grandfather clock that was ticking back and forth. And when you first walk in the house, you really hear that. But if you live in that house, you get to where you don't hear that grandfather clock ticking. So bringing in outside eyes to look at what you're wanting to implement can really help you get different perspective. You want to make sure you stay true to your core values and be able to identify areas and ideas that maybe you hadn't considered. And that's where it can be beneficial to get someone else to come in and help you with that. So here's a practice scenario, and in the supplemental resources is a 5 P's of strategy worksheet that you can use to go through this. Just a quick little story here that John is a airplane parts salesman, and he thinks he can compete with the big boys because he flies the same route all the time and thinks there's a lot of people would benefit from a low-cost flight between these two cities. Is it a good thing to do? How does he stand up against the major airlines if they come in and say, you know what, he wants to do it for $50 a flight, we're going to do it for $30 a flight, and we're going to lose money on it, but we'll lose money on it up until the point that he goes out of business, and then we'll raise our prices again. So as he looks at implementing this strategy, a 5 P's and analysis of his strategy could be a great thing for him to do. So take the worksheet, take some time, work through this one, and maybe work through it with someone else as well and get their different ideas on how the 5 P's could come into play regarding this scenario. Some things for you to reflect on. Do you have your own 5 P's? Have you implemented something using a 5 P strategy, whether it's the prior planning prevents poor performance or another one that you have heard in your life, because there's lots of 5 P's out there. How's that gone for you because of doing that? Have you experienced an implementation with somebody that just kind of willy-nilly said, here's the thing we're going to do, let's go do it? Because if you go through it without planning and utilizing some form of 5 P's, will it be successful or not? Again, in the supplemental resources, there's some forms there for you to use to do some planning and thinking through a strategy that you might want to implement. And I urge you to use those, and hopefully good things will come for you. A bonus 5 P's for you. I am positively proud that you participated, practiced, and planned. Thank you for being a part of this today. Best wishes to all of you for a safe and successful future. Thank you for being a part of Kiwanis Amplify and for listening to this module today. Again, I'm Craig Crawford, and if I can help you out anywhere in the future, please contact me. Have a great day.